Well, if there was going to be any obstacle to finishing season 7, it was going to be this. I've particularly heard horror stories about this episode. No opinion I've heard was good. However, I'm in a bit of Starlight mood coming off of no second appearances. And to be honest, the school days overexposure is really getting to me. There won't be a better time to get this over with, so let's do just that. We begin with Starlight at the train station for more excited than she's ever been. Now that she's long over the hang-ups and she had just reconnected with Sunburst in the christening. She's extremely happy to spend time with him now that he's coming to Ponyville. To the point where she vents her excitement to any pony with ears. Soon after the train arrives, only for Sunburst to be mysteriously absent. Nah, he's just a fake out. The two old friends greet each other and start talking about what they do together. When Summers mentions a new hobby of his, antiquing. Okay, question for anyone fans out of this. Do you really use the word antiquing? Like, that sounds really dumb. In any case, he basically drags Starlight into his hobby after they drag all his belongings to the Friendship Palace. Cutting to the antique shop, I somehow do and don't feel for Starlight here. I totally get it. If you're not into that sort of thing, a shop like this can be boring as hell. But even more so, if someone who is interested in explaining the significance of every little dust particle, that's just not specific to antiques. This applies to any field that you might be into. If your friend isn't a gamer, you don't try to explain Kingdom Hearts to them. However, there are some legitimately interesting pieces in here. Most notable is a map made by the Mighty Helm of the Rockcliffe story. In hindsight, this probably that's probably there to prove the legend is true, as a bit of late foreshadowing in the finale. Still, this is unfortunate for Starlight, but not too bad. Problems start to arise when Twilight shows up in the store. Also there for antiquing. What follows is an entire scene of Starlight getting unknowingly snubbed by her childhood friend. Now, this would be bad enough. Waiting for so long to spend time with a friend, only for them to ignore you, but it doesn't stop with that antique shop. When the three get home that night, Twilight and Sunburst are still screwing around with their purchases, and they bought a lot, for real. Starlight, desperate to hold Sunburst's attention while not insulting his hobbies, pretends like a random barrel. Um, and this barrel turns out to be a blind, but those four ponies. They have not yet seen the plague of loot boxes in modern gaming. In any case, Sunburn finally realizes that how miserable Starlight is, and gives her the reins on the day. She chooses to play the game from the childhood, Dragon Pit. Twilight's actually familiar with the game and joins in. Unlike in Antiques, however, this seems like healthier interaction. Twilight participating, but not at Starlight's expense. Even so, this is a subtle step in Starlight's arc for the episode, showing that her only ways to connect with Sunburst are through nostalgia. Unfortunately, this is followed by one of the worst scenes in the episode. Starlight talks with Sunburst in his room, hoping to make up a plan for the next day. That's more centered around the two of them. Sunburst, however, can't stop talking about how well he got along with Twilight, and that, of course, he should consult her for the next day's plans. Okay, the string of Starlight throughout this episode can mostly be considered ignorance and, you know, anything that anything that you can associate with ignoring, basically. Not this. This is just insensitive. Now, this scene could have worked if the episode had developed Sunburst's side of conflict more, but I'll get into that later. As for what we got, and it's about here that we start to see Starlight go downhill. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, so here it is. Charlotte makes some questionable decisions here to try to get her old friend's attention. I'm not gonna say they're right, because they're not. But I completely understand that she was pushed to the point because Sunburst simply won't interact with her. Even the worst choice here is better than more understandable than the spell and every little thing she does. For now, though, these choices start small, with Starlight working Sunburst up before the sun even rises, which is bad enough. So, where do they go to start their very early morning? To Sweet Apple Acres. To visit the apple trees? Okay. While this is a far more blatant show of the nostalgia point I made earlier, it also shows just how sad their relationship is. Charlotte only draws from her childhood to connect with Sunburst, while expecting him to be the same Colt she once knew. However, Sunburst was long since moved on, to the point where he can barely remember the details Starlight used to try to reconnect to the childhood. With Sunburst having completely forgotten that the two apparently drank a lot of apple juice as foals, Starlight tries to jog his memory and bucks some apples off the tree. Without magic, well, scrap all the theories about early pony magic. Shaking apples off the trees, however, they're not alone. The apples that fall off the trees ungracefully wakes a certain blue pony from her slumber. So once again, Starburst diverts his attention from his childhood friend, and places it on one of her new friends. Well, at least they're both enjoying the spectacle together. As they watch Trixie try her hoof an escape trip, keyword they were here being try, as the fails miserably, and Starlight has to bail her out. Unfortunately, this brings out Sunburst's hidden love for stage magic. He and Trixie spend quite a while explaining their knowledge of magic tricks, once again leaving Starlight in the corner to sulk. Before long, however, the childhood friends moved on to their next destination. Starlight, you must know what happened with Pinkie Pie in the mirror pool, right? You bring up the possibility of a loose Pinkie just a minute later. Why would you even think of repeating her mistake? Springtime Sunburst, the clones aren't the same as the originals, and I feel like Starlight would know that. Going back to the loose Pinkie point, the two suddenly hear noises in the cave, which were supposed to be sealed. They follow the noise, and, well, they find the pie. At least apparently the mirror pool links up to Maud's new home. And so you expect Sunburst goes 3 for 3 and gets engrossed in the cave's geology with Maud. At this point, Starlight just gives up and goes home. I mean, it's probably healthier than having her blow the cave apart. Back home, Twilight notices Starlight all alone, and she finally opens up about the Sunburst issue. As she does, Sunburst has more in common with Starlight other friends than with Starlight herself. It's then that Starlight brings up something that they do still have in common: a love of magic. You'd think Twilight would learn. So Starlight does try to connect with Sunburst with magic. No, she doesn't mind control. She doesn't mind control him. In case that's what you were thinking, but what she does instead is almost as creepy. She presents him with a spell she only just made, and then uses it to turn the key map room into their childhood home. Was that how Starlight or Sunburst? Uh, I don't know. Though with the place looking like like a home office, that don't didn't quite click until she turns them both into the fools themselves. Thankfully, Starlight isn't going psycho again. When Sunburst disagrees with everything, Starlight quietly ends the spell and gives up. Only now does Sunburst realize that he's done what he's done and tries to find a way to connect with Starlight. One problem: you can't even think of one thing they have in common. And and here's what I meant when I say they should have focused more on Sunburst's side. This dilemma of his makes total sense. I mean, but I feel the episode would have worked much better if it was incorporated into the main conflict. If I were to rewrite things, I would, you know, have Sunburst realize earlier, perhaps before he even gets off the train, that he can barely connect with Starlight. This would explain his actions a lot more as a sort of, you know, anything else to Starlight's problem. He still tries to hang out with Starlight because, well, she's his friend, honestly, but he can't help but gravitate more towards her friends and their more relatable hobbies that would present the conflict as a result of a relatable flaw in Sunburst's character, rather than just ignorance. Um, Sunburst consults Starlight friends on how to fix the relationship with Starlight, though I feel he comes to the final conclusion himself. That conclusion is to rope the friends, and to make a life-size dragon pop board for Starlight. Like, with these characters as their own piece, this works. Though Starlight blows a hole in the floor to simulate a dragon being trapped, and to be honest, I'm slightly disappointed. I would have loved to see Starlight go Dungeons and Discourse on this whole board game. It'd be like playing a real life Mario Party. Um, with everything solved, the circle of friends meet at a train station once more to see some off. Huh. With all his luggage, you'd think he'd stay longer. For real. Just in any case, Starlight gets a group shot with all her friends, besides Thorax and Discord, of course. We get one more hint at the final via Sunburst's loot barrel, and the episode ends. You know, there's a big difference in a simple person's opinion with experiencing and analyzing a piece of media. I always liked. Well, actually, no. I usually use my experience with Final Fantasy, as a prime example. I enjoyed playing it, but I only find things I hate when I take a step back. This episode was the opposite. It was not fun to watch at all, but I can look back at what it did for these characters and see what was intended. The friendship difficulties Starlight and Sunburst have here make perfect sense for their characters, even if Sunburst got a little focus. And I'm glad that they were explored. In fact, looking back, this plot actually seems pretty good on paper. However, this means I don't know why the episode went wrong. Just that it did. Maybe it's just a general, you know, hesitancy about Starlight's development. Um, and it's always good to have her overcome flaws like this, but Starlight seems to pair with that development that with pretty poor decisions. Still, it's just like my speculation. My final opinion, definitely don't watch it for fun. It's just disregard and don't disregard it either. But unless you know, just so you don't watch it, it's Uncommon Bond episode. It's season 7, I believe. But just don't watch it because it's not a very good episode. It doesn't explain much of what the episode tries to, really interpret, but it doesn't really. I just don't like it myself. Um, because it just doesn't explain a whole lot. But anyways, guys, um, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, this is Professor signing off. Class is dismissed.